The scent lingering in the air wasn't her perfume, but another woman's. It was the signature fragrance of Chloe, her husband's young subordinate and personal secretary. Anna, could you really not have picked a worse time? You know how important my trip is this weekend, Derek said, glaring at me through the mirror with a heavy, irritated sigh. There wasn't a shadow of concern for his wife on his face, only selfish annoyance that his plans were being interrupted. This isn't a business trip, it's a lie. You're going with Chloe, I know. But that's not what matters right now. The baby. Something might be seriously wrong. Please just call an ambulance, I managed to say, gathering my last ounce of strength. The pain in my lower abdomen felt as if my insides were being twisted into a knot. Breathing was almost impossible. My hands gripping the bedsheets turned white and trembled violently. But hearing my words, Derek simply scoffed and walked over to the bed. He looked down at my face, which was distorted in agony, and spat. "Cut the act, Anna. You're just trying to ruin my trip." His ice-cold words made me forget how to breathe for a second. The pain of his cruelty pierced my heart deeper than the physical agony. An act. You think I'm putting on an act, risking our baby's life? Oh, please. You've always been like this. You hate that I'm becoming successful. You can't stand that I work closely with a talented subordinate, so you throw these exaggerated tantrums to keep me chained to the house. I see right through you. His petty nature was on full display. A stream of baseless, paranoid accusations and contempt poured from his mouth. Ever since I got pregnant, he started complaining that I had gained weight and lost my appeal, and he practically stopped coming home. Lately, he'd been parading around openly with his young secretary, Chloe, complaining to everyone that his wife had become a hysterical burden. "Derek, please don't leave me. This is our baby." Exactly. Because it's my child, I won't let it be used as a manipulation tool by a pathetic woman like you. Besides, you're a stay-at-home wife. You do nothing all day. If it hurts so much, call an Uber and go to the hospital yourself. I have a flight to catch. Chloe, the clients are waiting. With those words, Derek carelessly kicked my smartphone, which had been resting near my pillow, off the edge of the bed. My phone, my only lifeline, slid across the floor, coming to rest completely out of reach. I could only lay there in silence, sinking into profound despair. The realization that the man standing before me had entirely lost his humanity hurt more than anything. Taking my silence as an admission of defeat, he assumed I was broken and had nothing left to say. Derek smirked with satisfaction. "See? Nothing to say. You can lay there moaning and whining as much as you want. I'm going straight to the office on Monday morning. Try to cool off by then." Without even a passing glance at my stomach, he yanked the handle of his suitcase. The click of the wheels sounded deafening in the suffocating silence of the bedroom. "See ya. Try not to ruin my weekend." Slam. The heavy oak front door shut with a ruthless bang. I was left entirely alone in the bedroom, curled up in unbearable pain. My husband had cold-bloodedly abandoned his wife and unborn child on the brink of death to go on a luxury vacation with his mistress. The abdominal pain surged violently. In my fading consciousness, I desperately reached my hand toward the fallen smartphone, sliding off the mattress and stretching my fingers across the cold hardwood floor. Just a few more inches. A little more. I wouldn't let my baby die. I had to save him. At that exact moment, a strange, unprecedented rush of warmth spread through my lower body. My water had broken. Hovering on the edge of panic, a small corner of my mind coldly and soberly assessed the situation. I felt something fundamental inside me snap with a dry, permanent click. The pathetic wife who clung to her husband died right then and there. I had to survive no matter what. I had to make sure that on Monday morning, when Derek casually strolled into his office, he would learn exactly whose world he was living in and whose palm he had been dancing in all this time. With trembling fingers, I finally touched the glowing screen of my phone. Staring at the display in the dark, I gathered my remaining strength and dialed a single number. I didn't call 911. Before the second ring even finished, the call connected. "Yes, Miss Vance. What has happened?" The silence of the night was cut by the calm, unwavering, yet steel-edged voice of an older man. "Samuel, help me." The second those fractured words left my lips, the atmosphere on the other end of the line shifted instantaneously. "I am on my way. Please stay exactly where you are and do not move. I am dispatching a medical team to your location immediately." For the first time, genuine alarm broke through the normally unflappable voice of Samuel Evans. Samuel was the chief operating officer of Vance Enterprises, a massive global conglomerate owned by my father. Since childhood, Samuel had looked after me like a second father. Yes, my husband Derek didn't have the slightest clue, but I was not the uneducated, useless housewife he believed me to be. I was the only daughter of Victor Vance, the chairman of Vance Enterprises, a corporate empire that owned dozens of subsidiaries nationwide and held massive influence on Wall Street and in Washington, D.C. That was my true identity. I met Derek 3 years ago. At the time, he was just a mid-level sales rep at a minor subsidiary on the fringes of the conglomerate. But I was drawn to his passion and his earnest gaze as he stayed late at the office, meticulously putting together pitch decks. I hid my family background and started dating him. One day, I'm going to be a big shot and give you a life where you never have to worry about a thing, he would tell me, squeezing my hand with a tired but hopeful smile. Believing in his sincerity, I went to my father. He has talent. Please give him a chance at corporate headquarters. As a result, Derek experienced an unprecedented meteoric rise up the corporate ladder, eventually landing the prestigious role of director of sales at the main Manhattan headquarters. However, he was completely deluded into thinking this success was solely the result of his own genius and charisma. As he gained money and power, he grew increasingly arrogant and stopped paying attention to our family. He began to look down on me as a worthless burden living off his paycheck. Worse, he started cheating on me with his young secretary, Chloe. I hear his wife is a college dropout, can't even hold a decent conversation. A top-tier executive like me deserves a sophisticated woman like Chloe. I had once overheard him laughing and saying exactly that to a colleague on the phone. In reality, after high school, I had attended an Ivy League university and later graduated summa cum laude with an MBA. But I kept it to myself to protect his fragile ego, choosing to remain silent. He interpreted my silence as shame over my lack of education and used it as his favorite weapon to insult me. Back then, overwhelmed with sorrow, I would just stand silently in the dark hallway, lacking the words to respond to the devastating changes in the man I loved. But now my patience had run dry. This cruel man hadn't just trampled on my dignity. He had left his own child to die so he could run off with his mistress. Miss Vance, stay with us. Just as I was losing consciousness from the blinding pain, the piercing wail of sirens, and the crash of my front door being forced open, echoed through the house. Samuel, breathless and still wearing his bespoke suit, rushed into the room alongside a private paramedic team from Vance Medical Center. Samuel, everything will be fine, Miss Vance. You did brilliantly to hold on. We are taking you straight to the VIP wing of Vance Medical Center. Stay strong. I was lifted onto a stretcher and the ambulance tore through the neon-lit streets of New York. Upon arrival, I was rushed into an emergency VIP operating room, bypassing all public areas. Bright surgical lights hit my eyes and the cold rush of anesthesia spread up my arm. I could only pray, please, baby, live. Even if he was the son of such a monster, to me, his life was priceless. When I woke up, dawn was breaking outside the window. The crisp scent of antiseptics and the steady rhythmic beep of the heart monitor filled the silence of the private suite. You're awake, Miss Vance. Samuel stood by the bed. He had stayed the entire night. He bowed deeply, heavy shadows under his eyes. The baby. The moment the dry words escaped my throat, Samuel's face softened slightly and he gave a quiet nod. Do not worry. It was a highly critical situation, but thanks to our top medical team, the delivery was successful. You have a healthy baby boy. He was born premature and is currently in the neonatal intensive care unit, but his life is in no danger. Hearing those words, heavy tears spilled from my eyes. Thank God, his life was saved. However, as I wiped away my tears of relief, Samuel's demeanor shifted back to that of a cold-blooded corporate shark. In a low voice, he said, regarding Derek. At the mere mention of his name, an inextinguishable flame of icy wrath flared in the depths of my soul. He did not go on a business trip to negotiate with clients. We have confirmed that he illegally utilized corporate funds to fly first class to Dubai with his secretary Chloe. They are currently checked into a 5-star luxury resort. Samuel paused, pulled a thick dossier from his leather briefcase and placed it on my bedside table. While he was away, corporate security conducted a covert search of his office. We found something undeniable. Seeing the documents, my breath caught. This wasn't just about infidelity or embezzlement. These were proofs of a staggering betrayal that could shake the foundations of the company and utterly destroy Derek. Samuel, I will never forgive him. My voice was cold and crystal clear. Not a trace remained of the woman who had once loved her husband. On Monday morning, when he returns from Dubai and smugly walks into headquarters, I am going to end him. Begin preparations. Understood. All directives have already been issued, Samuel bowed deeply. I stood by the glass looking at my son sleeping in the incubator in the NICU. His tiny chest rose and fell with desperate effort. Suddenly, hurried footsteps echoed behind me. Anna. Turning around, I saw a breathless but fiercely imposing older man. It was the absolute head of Vance Enterprises, my father, Victor Vance. He had received Samuel's message in the dead of night and immediately flown back from Europe on his private jet. Dad. You did well, Anna. Seeing my healthy grandson's face is the only reason my heart is still beating. But that bastard, Derek, leaving my precious daughter and grandson for a joyride with some girl, I will not let this stand. My father's eyes brimmed with a profound, terrifying fury. The aura radiating from a man who had survived countless bloodbaths at the apex of corporate America made the air in the hospital room vibrate. At that moment, my smartphone, which Samuel had retrieved from my house, let out a soulless ringtone. The screen flashed a name, Derek. I exchanged a look with my father, and Samuel nodded. Put the phone on speaker and set it on the table. Hello? Ugh. Finally picked up. Are you still laying in bed pretending to be sick? Derek's voice carried no concern for his wife's condition, only blatant irritation. Behind him, the sound of crashing waves and Chloe's giggling voice could be heard. Derek, come on, let's go back in the water. Hold on a sec, Chloe. Let me deal with the hysteric. Derek replied to her, then adopted a haughty tone with me. Listen, I think I left a blue folder in my home office. I desperately need it first thing Monday morning. Bring it to the headquarters. You're a housewife. It's not like you have anything better to do. I was speechless at his audacity. His wife nearly died from a premature birth, and he was ordering her to act as his delivery boy. Derek took my silence as disobedience. A torrent of unbelievable insults poured from his mouth. Hey, are you listening to me? This is why uneducated women are nothing but trouble. You just get in the way of an elite executive like me. With your bird brain, you wouldn't understand the magnitude of my work anyway. Derek proudly continued. I'm not just partying here. I have a top-secret golf meeting with the executive board of our biggest rival, Titan Dynamics. If this deal goes through, I'm ditching this second-rate company and jumping ship to Titan on an unbelievable compensation package. At those words, my father's eyebrow twitched violently. The evidence Samuel had found was proof that Derek was trying to sell highly classified Vance Enterprises trade secrets to Titan Dynamics. And Derek had just confirmed this fatal fact with his own mouth. And when I do, I won't need a useless leech like you anymore. Don't expect alimony. You won't see a single dime. I have Chloe the ideal partner. Oh, Derek, stop it. Your wife will hear you. Chloe giggled in the background. Let her hear. She's too stupid to understand half the words I'm saying anyway. Vulgar laughter echoed from the other end. I maintained a deep silence, not out of sadness, and not because I couldn't argue back. I felt nothing but profound pity for this man's boundless stupidity. He was casually spilling the evidence of his own destruction and laughing about it. My ominous silence must have struck him as odd, because he raised his voice. What, nothing to say? You're a freak. Listen to me. Bring the folder on Monday. If you forget, you'll regret it. Click. He hung up unilaterally. Did you hear that, Dad? I asked quietly. My father, wearing an expression as ferocious as a wild beast, answered in a low, resonant voice. Yes, Samuel, that call. Yes, Mr. Vance. The entire conversation was simultaneously broadcasted to and recorded by the chief legal officer of Vance Enterprises. He has nowhere to run. Samuel reported, coolly checking his iPad. I looked out at the clear blue sky. Derek, you told me to come to the office on Monday. Yes, I'll be there with the exact blue folder you want so badly. But you have no idea that on Monday morning when you walk in expecting a triumphant victory, absolute despair will be waiting for you. Sunday. While my husband played with his mistress under the bright Dubai sun piece reigned in the VIP suite of Vance Medical Center. My condition was steadily improving and Ethan's breathing in the NICU had stabilized. But this brief respite was interrupted by the jarring ringtone of my phone on the table. The caller ID showed my mother-in-law. Brenda. Hello. The moment I answered, a shrill voice pierced my eardrums. Listen here, stop getting in my Derek's way. No greeting. Just immediate shouting. Brenda blindly believed her son was a once-in-a-century corporate genius and looked down on me as an uneducated charity case her son had taken pity on. Derek had clearly spun her a tale from Dubai. Derek told me everything. He was going on a crucial business trip and you played sick to trap him at home. What a despicable woman you are. Stop playing the victim. Derek is at a very important stage in his career. He's being headhunted for a C-suite role at Titan Dynamics. And you uneducated, useless daughter-in-law, are only dragging him down. Like a waterfall, Derek's arrogant talking points and ruthless insults poured from Brenda's mouth. You only got pregnant to tie my successful son down. It's a dirty trap. A child with your bad blood will never amount to anything anyway. A sophisticated, college-educated woman like Chloe is much better suited for Derek. When he gets back on Monday, don't expect a cent of alimony and sign the divorce papers immediately. I didn't even have the desire to argue. I remained deeply silent, simply pitying this mother and son duo living in such pathetic delusions. Are you even listening? Your silence just proves I'm right, and you have nothing to say. Pack your cheap bags and get ready to move into some dump. Click. She hung up. I stared at the cold glass screen and quietly set the phone down. My father, Victor Vance, who had heard the entire conversation, was sitting nearby. The anger had faded from his face, replaced by a cruel, icy smile. Anna, this family is a bottomless well of stupidity. Yes, Dad. They have absolutely no idea whose hand they've bitten. Just then, there was a quiet knock, and Samuel opened the door. Mr. Vance, Miss Vance, your visitor is here? As arranged, an unexpected figure walked into the room. He was an older man in a bespoke charcoal suit that screamed old money with piercing eyes I had seen on the covers of Forbes and Fortune magazines countless times. It was Robert Thorne, the CEO of Titan Dynamics, the rival company Derek had bragged, was headhunting him. Robert, sorry to drag you out on a weekend, my father said. The CEO of Titan Dynamics bowed deeply. Victor, my heartfelt congratulations on the birth of your grandson. And I offer my deepest apologies that our company's name ever left the mouth of that fool. I widened my eyes at Robert Thorne's unexpected apology. Mr. Thorne, does that mean Derek's transfer to Titan Dynamics is a lie? At my question, Thorne let out a cold laugh. Transfer? What nonsense. Recently, this man contacted one of our executives and proposed a deal. He offered to hand over Vance Enterprises' highly classified trade secrets in exchange for a massive executive salary at Titan. There's a limit to everything. Who would hire such a piece of trash capable of such blatant corporate espionage? It turned out the promised land Derek believed in was purely a figment of his imagination. In reality, the moment his stunt came to light, I reported it directly to Victor. The executive he thinks he's negotiating with right now in Dubai is a decoy bait designed to extract all the stolen data from him. Every piece of classified Vance intel he proudly displays in Dubai is being recorded and transmitted in real time to Vance's legal department. Hearing Thorne's words, I held my breath. Derek was so confident he was playing a rival megacorporation. In reality, he was nothing but a pathetic puppet dancing on the palms of the CEOs of two giant corporate empires. Excellent work, Robert. We now have everything we need to completely erase this man from society, my father said in a low voice, looking at the Manhattan skyline. Tomorrow is Monday, the day this man will be cast down from heaven straight into hell. On that fateful Monday morning inside the towering Vance Enterprises headquarters in downtown Manhattan, the massive lobby with its vaulted ceilings and polished marble gleamed blindingly in the light. It buzzed with the energy of elite employees rushing to their desks. Summoning all my strength, pushing through the physical pain, just days after giving birth and ignoring the doctor's frantic protests, I stood there. My face was pale. Even standing upright was agonizing, but in my hands I tightly gripped the blue folder Derek had demanded. 20 minutes before the workday officially began, the heavy revolving doors spun and loud, obnoxious laughter that completely clashed with the professional atmosphere burst into the lobby. Yeah, the climate in Dubai is just spectacular. The Titan Dynamics board was thrilled. My flawless presentation totally won them over. Derek, you're just a business genius. You're so reliable, Chloe cooed. It was Derek sporting a fresh Dubai tan, expensive designer sunglasses resting on his head with Chloe practically glued to his arm. They made zero effort to hide that their business trip was a luxury vacation reeking of coconut sunscreen and smug satisfaction. Derek. When I called his name quietly, he stopped dead in his tracks and looked at me with profound disgust. Damn it, you actually dragged yourself here. Hey, what's with the ghost look? Still keeping up the comedy act to get pity. You are sickeningly petty. Derek roughly snatched the blue folder from my hands. Fine, I got the folder. A useless parasite like you, I don't need you for another millimeter of my life. I'm moving on to a brilliant life as a top executive at Titan Dynamics. His voice was unnaturally loud. Many employees hurrying through the lobby began to stop, forming a wide circle around us. Whispers echoed through the marble hall. But Derek, basking in the attention, deliberately spoke even louder so everyone could hear. Everyone listen to this. This woman is the worst wife alive. She's jealous of my success and does nothing but sabotage my important work. She eats off my dime, but throws a fit because I work with the talented Chloe here. She faked being sick to chain me to the house. Have you ever seen such a manipulative, toxic woman? Chloe leaned harder into Derek's arm with a victorious smirk. Exactly. She's a college dropout, so she can't comprehend the magnitude of Derek's job. Her own emptiness makes her want to drag him down. It's just pathetic. Their ruthless words rained down on me, but I just stared at the cold marble floor, maintaining a deep silence. Just then, a young man stepped out of the crowd. It was Kyle, Derek's direct subordinate. Once, when Kyle made a massive error and was on the verge of being fired, I had convinced Derek to forgive him. But that same Kyle, eager to suck up to the successful, Derek pointed a finger at me. We all know how much you suffer from your wife's jealousy, Derek. You need to drop this hysterical dead weight. Chloe is a much better fit for you. You think so too, Kyle. Hear that, Anna. That's the consensus. Nobody wants you. Derek erupted into triumphant laughter, pulled a crumpled sheet of paper from his jacket pocket, and tossed it carelessly at my feet. Sign these divorce papers right now and get out. You're not getting a single cent of alimony from me. Low snickers and murmurs of contempt rippled through the crowd. Betrayed by those I had trusted, I was trapped in the center of the corporate lobby like I was at a public execution. Hey, security, throw this suspicious vagrant out of the building. She's delaying my very important workday, Derek barked arrogantly. Several heavily built security guards stationed at the edges of the lobby moved toward me with stern faces. But as I slowly bent down to pick up the divorce papers thrown at my feet, I stared at Derek with a quiet, blood-chilling smile. Hey, throw her out already, Derek yelled again. But the guards, who had roughly extended their hands toward me, suddenly froze the moment they saw my face up close. The color drained from their faces. They snapped into rigid postures of attention. Vance Enterprises security personnel were rigorously trained to memorize the faces of upper management and their immediate family members. They instantly realized exactly who they had almost laid their hands on. Please forgive us, ma'am. Gathering their wits, the guards completely ignored Derek's orders and bowed so deeply to me, they nearly folded in half. Hey, what the hell are you doing? Why are you bowing to this uneducated hysteric? Derek's eyes bulged, unable to hide his irritation, and he shoved one of the guards in the shoulder. But they remained as motionless as stone statues. At that moment, enough. A low, unyielding voice of absolute authority boomed through the lobby. The crowd parted and the second-in-command of Vance Enterprises COO Samuel Evans stepped forward. Behind him hurried several top C-suite executives. Derek's face lit up. He hastily plastered on a sycophantic smile and rushed over to Samuel. Ah, Mr. Evans. Good morning, sir. I apologize for this morning's misunderstanding. You see, my wife, jealous of my career growth, stalked me all the way to the office. I'm having her thrown out right now. Shut your mouth. At Samuel's bark, Derek let out a short squeak and clamped his jaw shut. The COO didn't even spare a glance for the groveling Derek. He walked straight toward me, and alongside the top executives surrounding him, bowed respectfully. Miss Vance, I asked you not to overexert yourself in your condition. Forgive us for not meeting you at the door. Miss Vance. An astonished gasp escaped Derek's lips. Chloe and Kyle froze with their mouths hanging open. I slowly raised my head. Derek, I kept one tiny secret from you. Secret. Yes, I am not a college dropout. I graduated summa cum laude from an Ivy League university. And most importantly, I am the only daughter of the chairman of Vance Enterprises, Victor Vance. I watched as every drop of blood vanished from Derek's face in an instant. What, Anna? You! What kind of joke is this? He stammered. But the fact that not a single executive contradicted me proved it was the truth. You called me a worthless parasite living off your paycheck, didn't you? I slowly held up the divorce papers he had thrown at my feet, ripped them into tiny pieces, and took a step toward him. But your meteoric rise, all those major projects entrusted to you, that was entirely because I was behind the scenes asking my father to give you a head start. Everything you thought was your own achievement was a grand illusion I created for you. Bullshit. That's my talent, my charisma. Talent. Embezzling corporate funds to fly first class to Dubai with your mistress under the guise of client negotiations. Is that your talent? No, this is a misunderstanding. Derek, turning purple, tried to defend himself. Oh, by the way, speaking of Titan Dynamics, I gestured to the blue folder he had so aggressively demanded I bring. Samuel, please show him what's inside. The COO opened the blue folder and tipped its contents onto the marble floor. Derek's face contorted. Scattered across the floor were not trade secrets, but countless pieces of evidence detailing how they had used company money to fund their luxury Dubai vacation. High-res photos, designer boutique receipts, and bank statements showing Derek funneling money into offshore accounts for years to create a massive slush fund. "Where are my classified files?" Derek dropped to his knees, frantically trying to gather the receipts. "I swapped them. The classified data you tried to steal is safely locked in the legal department." Chloe burst into a hysterical shriek. This is a forgery, Derek. Say something, this jealous woman is trying to frame us." This tense moment was broken by a shrill scream. Stumbling through the automatic doors was Derek's mother, Brenda. Derek had called her earlier, and she had rushed over in a taxi to save her son. "Ah, Mom, you're just in time. Look at this. This daughter-in-law is a treacherous snake trying to ruin my talent out of pure jealousy." Without grasping the situation, Brenda marched right up to me. "An uneducated brat like you dares to talk back to my elite son. Get on your knees and apologize to Derek right now." But at that moment, the doors of the private VIP elevator dinged open. The supreme head of Vance Enterprises, Victor Vance, stepped out. "What a spirited mother. Was it you insulting my beloved daughter and newborn grandson?" His low voice carried the growl of a predator. Every employee in the lobby stiffened and bowed deeply. Brenda looked in bewilderment from the chairman to me. "Daughter Derek, who is this gentleman and why is everyone bowing?" "Mom, shut up, please. That's the chairman of the board." Derek's weak voice finally registered. Brenda let out a short shriek and collapsed to her knees. Cornered Derek looked like a trapped rat. His bloodshot eyes flashed. He violently shoved Chloe and his mother out of his way. "Get out of my way. I'm the director of sales. It's not over yet. My brilliant achievements are in my office." He bolted toward the employee elevators. He genuinely believed that if he returned to his kingdom on the 15th floor, he would find his computer and a way to delete the evidence and fix everything. But he understood nothing. With an electronic ding, the elevator doors opened on the 15th floor. The sales floor was as quiet as a graveyard. A cold, oppressive silence hung in the air. As he approached his desk, he froze. His prized possessions, the genuine leather executive chair, the massive mahogany desk, his desktop client files, personal belongings had vanished without a trace. All that remained was a bare desk frame. "My computer's gone. My slush fund data. Who broke into my office?" Derek threw a tantrum. Still as loud as ever, Derek. Derek spun around. Sitting on the visitor sofa was the Titan Dynamics executive he had just been partying with in Dubai. Only he was wearing a sharp suit bearing the Vance Enterprises lapel pin. "Sir, why are you here?" Derek stammered. "Do not touch me. My real name is Crane, head of internal audit at Vance Enterprises. While you were sipping company-funded champagne in Dubai, my team and the legal department have been investigating every single one of your frauds. Everything on this desk has already been seized by the FBI as evidence. My father, Samuel, the top executives, and I walked onto the sales floor. Mr. Crane, show him the contract my father ordered." Crane unlocked his tablet. "Derek, do you remember the documents you signed so eagerly at the Dubai hotel, believing they were your employment contract with Titan Dynamics? You didn't bother reading them, did you? That wasn't an employment contract. That was a full legal confession in which you bound yourself personally liable to repay all embezzled funds over the past 5 years, totaling $5 million, and you waived all rights to contest criminal prosecution. $5 million. Hearing that astronomical figure, Derek collapsed limply to the floor. But the rapid succession of blows didn't stop. In the silent office, Derek's smartphone rang piercingly. The screen showed Chloe. He answered it, putting it on speakerphone in a desperate bid to get their stories straight. "Chloe, where are you?" "It was a trap. The Dubai trip was a sting. Quickly wire the money from my offshore account to another country." A dry, mocking laugh came through the speaker. "Ugh, you are such an idiot, Derek. You actually thought you achieved all this yourself. It was all because of Anna's connections. You're an aging, washed-up loser. I only put up with you for the money." Then a new, unfamiliar male voice came through the line. "Hey, old man. I'm her real fiancé, Connor. While you were swimming in Dubai, Chloe swiped the passwords off your phone. We just wired every last cent from your secret Cayman account into crypto. Your stolen cash is paying for our wedding. See ya, you useless criminal." Beep! The connection severed. Chloe had taken all his hidden savings and run off with her actual boyfriend. Derek had lost everything. His company, his status, his money, and his mistress. Ah, lies. This is all a lie. In despair, Derek hurled his phone at the floor. He crawled over and grabbed my legs, weeping. "Anna, I'm begging you, save me. It's her fault. Just ask your dad to wipe out that $5 million debt. What about our newborn baby? It'll be horrible for him if his father goes to prison. I stared down at him with glacial detachment. The thing begging before me was a pathetic, irrational creature. Just then, security guards dragged a struggling Brenda onto the floor. "Derek, what have you done?" she shrieked, grabbing his collar. "My neighbors just called me. Our house is surrounded by men in windbreakers. They're taping red seizure notices all over the doors. Samuel, explain it to them, please," I said. The COO stepped forward. "Derek, a portion of the funds you embezzled from the company was wired into your mother's accounts to pay off her luxury McMansion. Furthermore, your mother registered a shell company in her name and served as a direct conduit for money laundering. By stamping her signature on those documents you handed her, she became a full-fledged co-conspirator, a federal felon." Brenda's face drained of color. She lunged at Derek. "You dragged your own mother into a federal crime, you useless piece of trash." Mother and son tore into each other in a repulsive physical brawl. Save the family drama for the interrogation room. A broad-shouldered man in a gray suit stepped forward, followed by several heavily armed tactical agents. "Agent Carter, FBI, White-Collar Crime Division. You are both under arrest on suspicion of grand larceny, wire fraud, and conspiracy to commit money laundering." Click. The handcuffs locked around the wrists of Derek and his mother. They screamed and cried as the agents began dragging them away. But Derek suddenly stopped and let out a low, eerie chuckle. "You got me, Anna. But you all made one fatal mistake." Derek used his teeth to pull a small red USB flash drive from his jacket pocket. "I have top-secret data on massive tax fraud committed by Vance Enterprises. If I see even one suspicious move, this data will be automatically mass emailed to the Wall Street Journal. How embarrassing." Breaking the silence was Kyle, the subordinate who had cheered Derek on in the lobby. Kyle bowed to me, then glared at Derek. "The fact that I played along with you this morning, that was an undercover directive from Mr. Crane. That red flash drive. The day before you left for Dubai, I swapped it for a blank one. That piece of plastic you're holding is totally worthless." "No, that's a lie." Derek lunged at Agent Carter. "Plug this into your tablet, I'll prove it." Agent Carter sighed, plugged it into his FBI-issued tablet, and silently pressed play. What appeared wasn't classified tax documents. It was a single video file. On the screen, the familiar setting of my kitchen appeared. Talking on the phone with a terrifying smile was Derek himself. "Yeah, Chloe, I'm mixing a highly potent abortion drug into Anna's tea right now. I got it through the dark web. If I force a miscarriage with this drug, both Anna's body and her mind will be completely shattered. She'll leave me on her own. Then I can divorce her without paying alimony and finally marry you." The Derek in the video dumped a suspicious powder into my teapot and laughed. The horrific agony and bleeding I experienced on Friday night was a cold-blooded, premeditated assassination attempt. Derek entirely lost his voice and collapsed to his knees. "That's it. You forged this. It's a deep fake," Derek screamed, shaking his head like a madman. "Hey, agent, do you actually believe a fake video?" "It's not a fake. I filmed that video with my own two hands." An older woman in a simple apron emerged. It was our housekeeper, Martha. "I am the director of private security, reporting directly to Chairman Vance," Martha stated firmly. "Hidden cameras were installed in your home. We recorded you purchasing that suspicious drug from the dark web, and we recorded you mixing it into Miss Vance's tea." "Lies. The drug, I'll just say it was protein powder," Derek screeched. "Sorry to disappoint you," Agent Carter replied. "We conducted a raid on your home office. Inside your hidden floor safe, we found a vial containing the exact same substance. Your fingerprints are all over it. The FBI crime lab report is a perfect match." Utterly broken, Derek started to giggle morbidly. "Haha. Anna, sweetheart, I'm sorry. But hey, it all worked out in the end, right? The baby died anyway. You were writhing in pain on Friday night. That means my plan worked, and you had a miscarriage. If that's the case, it's not murder, right? Please don't let my brilliant career end like this. Unfortunately for you, I didn't drink a single drop of that tea," I said, coldly. "Bullshit. Then why were you in so much pain?" "I didn't collapse because of your poison. You still haven't realized what kind of powder you actually bought off that dark website. And you still don't realize the irreversible changes happening inside your own body right now." Agent Carter read from the crime lab report. "Derek, according to the lab analysis, it wasn't an abortion drug. It was a garbage cocktail of synthetic narcotics and highly toxic heavy metals. Cheap street trash. It induces a temporary state of euphoria, but then it rapidly begins destroying the internal organs and the central nervous system. Specifically, it permanently shuts down male hormone production, causes severe rapid hair loss, and triggers agonizing nerve pain. You got scammed by dark web grifters." Martha stepped forward. Immediately after you put the poison in Miss Vance's tea on Friday morning, I seized that tea and preserved it as evidence. And before your flight to Dubai, I emptied every last drop of the collected poison straight into your pre-flight protein shake. That godlike euphoria you felt in Dubai was nothing but the effects of the synthetic narcotics. You drank the very poison you bought yourself. Before Martha even finished her sentence, Derek clutched his stomach and began rolling on the floor. It hurts. My insides are on fire. The narcotic effect had worn off. The devastating side effects of the heavy metal poisoning attacking his nervous system had kicked in. In a frenzy, he grabbed his head. A piercing scream tore from his throat. His thick, dark hair fell out in a massive clump in his hand. Every time he touched his scalp, dead hair fell out in fistfuls. According to the medical report, your male biological functions are already permanently destroyed. You will spend the rest of your life managing agonizing nerve pain in federal prison, Agent Carter added. Damn you, Anna, Derek roared, but then a tall blonde foreigner in a sharp suit stepped forward from the crowd. I am an agent with Interpol's Financial Crimes Task Force. Derek, that $500 million Dubai mega resort contract you signed last month, the man you negotiated with is not a prince. He is the ringleader of an international syndicate of fraudsters. Thanks to intelligence provided by Vance Enterprises, they were apprehended yesterday. The luxury brochures and desert land were a theatrical set designed to extract money from you. Fraudsters, Derek gasped. He immediately pivoted, screaming at my father. I was acting in the best interest of the company. The company took the hit. Save your fairy tales, my father said. The board of directors unanimously rejected that highly suspicious contract, and you were strictly forbidden from pursuing it. But you, blinded by the promise of a secret kickback, used your personal signature and personal seal to sign a covert agreement. You acted as a private citizen. And now you are personally saddled with a debt of $500 million. Derek's knees gave out entirely. Embezzlement, attempted murder, a personal debt of $500 million, and a poison that was actively destroying his body. Take him away, Agent Carter signaled. Two burly federal agents grabbed Derek by the arms and dragged him toward the elevator. Anna, think about it. A useless woman like you can't raise a child who inherited the genes of a genius like me. Without my intellect and my guidance, he'll end up a total failure. You need me. A woman in a sharp suit stepped forward, her expensive heels clicking against the marble. Sarah Jenkins, the chief legal officer of Vance Enterprises. Silence inmate Sarah stated, holding out a manila folder. The divorce papers you signed this morning have already been filed with the New York Supreme Court and officially finalized. You are legally a complete stranger to Miss Vance. Furthermore, the family court has granted Miss Vance sole legal and physical custody of the child. Due to the federal charges and undeniable evidence of attempted murder, your parental rights are being involuntarily terminated. Derek's eyes bulged out of his skull. Chairman Vance has established an irrevocable trust legally cementing the child as the sole heir to the Vance Enterprises empire. In his records, all ties to you have been completely erased and sealed. You have been permanently written out of his existence. No, that's my son. My legacy. Take him away, my father ordered. Until the very last second, as the elevator doors slid shut, Derek clawed at the floor, screaming and weeping tears of blood. But the heavy steel doors closed ruthlessly, and his final wail faded away completely. On the massive, silent 15th floor, all that remained were a few ugly clumps of hair he had ripped out in his madness. It's over, my father said quietly, pulling me into a gentle embrace. Yes, Dad, it's over. Let's go, Dad. Let's go back to the hospital. To him. A few hours after the storm had passed, at the Vance Enterprises headquarters, my father Samuel and I hurried back to Vance Medical Center. When I pushed open the doors to the NICU, the scene before me was peaceful and tender. The attending pediatrician greeted me with a kind smile. Congratulations, Miss Vance. The baby's breathing has completely stabilized, and we just moved him from the incubator to a regular crib. You can hold him now. As I carefully scooped him up with trembling hands, his incredible warmth filled my chest. My father gently stroked the baby's tiny head, tears glistening in his eyes. This touching scene was interrupted by a quiet knock. Samuel walked in holding a silver tray bearing a slightly crumpled, dirty envelope. Miss Vance, a letter just arrived via an attorney from the Federal Detention Center. It is addressed to you from that man. What are your orders? I took the envelope and tore it open. Inside, written in erratic, barely legible handwriting, was a message. Hey, Anna. Tell your daddy to get me out of here immediately. I was set up. A college dropout, empty-headed woman. Like, you can't raise a kid without a genius like me. Stop dragging me down. If you don't help me right now, I'll curse you for the rest of my life. I read the letter to the end without my expression changing in the slightest. Without uttering a single word, I ripped the letter in half and dropped it into the trash can. Samuel. From now on, have the legal department intercept and destroy all communications from him. They have absolutely nothing to do with me or my son. It is just garbage. Understood. As Samuel bowed deeply, the door to the suite swung open, and a group of breathless people burst in. It was Kyle and several other employees from the sales department. In their hands, they carried massive bouquets of flowers, congratulatory cards, and a cute plush teddy bear. Kyle, guys, what are you doing here? I asked in surprise. Kyle awkwardly scratched the back of his neck and looked at me with an earnest gaze. We came to congratulate you on the birth of your son, and to congratulate our new CEO. What new CEO? I looked at my father in shock, and he let out a hearty laugh. Anna, the board of directors, reviewed all those flawless pitch decks and business models you created in the shadows. The decision was unanimous. You are going to step up and serve as the CEO of the entire subsidiary. The employees even submitted a petition requesting to work under your leadership. Congratulations, Miss Vance. The employees cheered in unison, bowing respectfully. Everything Derek had been so arrogant about had finally been returned to its rightful owner. From that night of absolute despair, I had finally risen from the ashes and reclaimed my true life. Coo. At that moment, the baby in my arms opened his eyes and let out a soft sound. His tiny hand reached up and firmly gripped my finger. Looking into his clear, innocent eyes, I felt that all my suffering had not been in vain, and I began to cry tears of pure joy. Ethan, I said, nodding to my father's unspoken question. That's my son's name. I want him to be as warm as the sun and to fly freely and straight toward the sky. I'm naming him Ethan. When I said that, the hospital room filled with warm applause and bright smiles. A few days later, a brief segment on the evening news reported that a former corporate executive implicated with an international fraud syndicate had been transferred to a maximum security federal penitentiary. Suffering from severe narcotic withdrawal, agonizing nerve pain, and sudden onset baldness, he was carrying a personal debt of $500 million. His mother had also received a harsh federal sentence for money laundering, and their McMansion had been auctioned off by the government. They would spend the rest of their lives in cold steel cages. All right, let's go home. On the clear, cloudless day of our discharge, holding Ethan tightly to my chest, I stepped confidently out of the hospital and into a bright, boundless future where my father, Samuel, and my true friends were waiting.